Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny Allen, and before we get started with today's video, please make sure that you are subscribed, that you thumbs up this video and check the description box below. So for today's video, I am going to do a book review on The Jewel of the Nile. I finished this book a few weeks ago, actually, and I thought I would do a book review on it. I love Tessa Afshar. Her books are excellent, well written, and they give you a real sense of, of ancient times. As you're reading her books, you really feel that you are in that time period, and it's excellent. So let me just read the back of the book for you to whet your appetite a bit. So it says, whispered secrets about her parents' past take on new urgency for Sherilyn as she pays one last visit to the land of her forefathers, the ancient kingdom of Kush. Raised as an orphan by her aunt, Sherilyn has only been told a few pieces of her parents' tragic love story. Her beautiful dark skin is proof that her father was Kushite, but she knows nothing else. Whilst visiting her grandfather, Sherilyn overhears that her father is still alive, and discovering his identity becomes her obsession. Both her grandfather and the Queen forbid her quest, however. So when her only clues lead to Rome, Sherilyn sneaks onto the ship of a merchant trusted by friends. Theo is shocked to discover a stowaway on board his vessel, but drawn in by Sherilyn's story, he feels honor-bound to see her safely to shore, especially when it appears someone may be willing to kill for the truth she seeks. In this transformative tale of historical fiction, best-selling author Tessa Afshar brings to life the kingdom of Kush and the Roman Empire, introducing readers to a fascinating first-century world filled with gripping adventure, touching romance, and a host of lovable characters. When it says here, that she brings to life the kingdom of Kush and the Roman Empire, I totally agree with that 100%, because as they're describing the buildings, as she is describing what people are doing, her descriptive work in this book is complete. It's awesome. And you really feel that you're in the first century and you're part of Sherilyn's story. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I've been saying Sherilyn throughout the whole story. The whole story is excellent, and she goes on this path and this journey of trying to find out who her father is. She thinks there's a point in the story where it comes to a point where she feels that her father is a particular man in the royal court, but actually as she goes further along, she finds out the true identity of her father, and the whole story is woven so beautifully. If you are looking for a book that will really grip you, if you are looking for a book where you are looking for a real adventure in the Kushite Empire and the Roman Empire, and the relationships between the Kushite kingdom and the Roman Empire, then this is your book. It is excellent. I was really, really taken on a journey with this book. And as you can see, some of the, it's all dog-eared because I was reading it on the train to and from work. It's excellent. So I would really, really encourage you to get this book. I have got a few of Tessa Afshar's other books, and I did a book review of my fiction Christian literature, And I'll put the link for those in the description box below. But if you want to be taken on a journey, you will be taken on a journey for sure with this book. I will read, let me read, there's some of the prologue here. Let me just, first of all, let me just bring you throughout the book. Actually, the beginning of each chapter has a scripture which introduces you to the content of the chapter that you're about to read. So, at the front of the book, you've got the world of the jewel of the Nile. So you've got a map of the times here of what that ancient world looked like then. And then you've got the kingdom of Cush here. The kingdom of Cush. Okay. And then, because as you're reading the book, these maps come very handy because it's part of the story. Okay. And as I said, the beginning of each chapter, you've got a verse and then you've got the scripture underneath. Okay. So I am just, let me just read some of the story, and then I will stop at a certain point because I just want to whet your appetite a little bit for this book. Okay. So this is the prologue, AD 31. He took one last aching look outside the crumbling window. The Nile was molten gold in the light of the rising sun. A sparkling coil winding its way into the horizon. Forcing himself to turn away, he came to kneel by the pallet where his bride lay sleeping. To have this woman, he would have to give up the lush beauty of his land, give up his family and heritage. He smiled. She was worth all the loss. For his sake, she had given up as much and more. Time to wake up, my love. She groaned, something incoherent, more asleep than awake. Come on, lazy. Open those enchanting sea-green eyes. We can't linger here. They will have discovered our absence by now. He spoke in a light tone, making sure none of his mounting anxiety leaked into his voice. Still, the reminder of their vulnerability was enough to banish the last vestiges of her sleep. She snapped her eyes open and sat up in one smooth motion, holding the sheet to her throat. How long have we been here? Too long, he motioned to the window. The sun is rising. She turned to place a hand on his cheek. I love you, husband. For an infinitional moment, time stood still. Fears banished, their pursuers vanished, and it was just the two of them in the whole expanse of this world. Her complexion so impossibly fair resting against his dark skin, a weaving of two beautiful threads into one exotic tapestry. His chest welled up with joy, and he leaned to kiss her softly. It seemed astonishing that she was his, truly and irrevocably his. I love you, Jemina. He said the words in Latin, the language of his birth, the language of his heart, and then broke the spell by pushing away to grab his cloak. They could not afford to remain at their dilapidated inn for another moment. I will settle our account with the innkeeper while you dress, he said, already pulling open the door. He paid the surly landlord an extra coin, a fat silver one that made the bloodshot eyes widen. For your discretion, he said. Unsmiling, the man pocketed the coin in a dirty purse and went to fetch their camels. He turned to look into the horizon. His chest tightened at the sight of a band of riders approaching fast from the south. Shading his eyes against the piercing sun, he squinted for a better view. 7, he counted. No, 8. the camels moving in long, smooth strides, their hooves spraying dust as they pounded the track. His throat turned dry. They could be traders, he told himself, merchants, travellers making their way to Egypt. A dozen different possibilities, none of them menacing. Then he saw the flash of metal strapped to the riders' sides. Swords. He raced up the stairs that led to their room. Jamila was already exiting the chamber. Without a word, he grabbed her hand and pulled her behind him down the stairs. What? She asked, breathless. Riders. How far? At the rate they are travelling, not far enough. They'll be here soon. They came to a stop at the edge of the inn's back wall, where they could not be spotted from the road. The innkeeper had brought out the camels, the innkeeper had brought out the camels from their pen, but had not bothered to saddle them in spite of his instructions. He should have fetched the camels sooner, he thought, berating himself for a fool as he started to saddle the first beast. Their landlord made no move to help. Instead, striding to the middle of the dirt road, he gazed into the distance. Spotting the approaching riders, he shook his head and spat into the dirt. I knew when I clapped my eyes on you that you would bring trouble to my inn. Ignoring the innkeeper, he clenched the first saddle. He plucked a rough woolen cape out of the saddlebag and threw it to Jamila, hurriedly donning a similar garment himself. Pull it over your hair, he instructed. Garbed in the fraying cotton from the back at last, they should look like two old nomads. His heart sank as he saddled the second camel, noting the dirt still clung to its haunches. Clearly, the innkeeper had not bothered to rub down the beast. He threw the man a narrowed look and received a sneer in return. There was no time for an altercation. He shoved away his irritation and completed the task before him with agile fingers. He could only hope that the innkeeper had fed and watered the animals. Riding dirty camels was one thing, but riding hungry, thirsting beasts when pursued by fast armed men, sweat drenched his back in the cool morning air. So I'm going to leave it right there. And as I've just read and I have just ended, a pursuit is taking place. There is going to be a pursuing of this couple that are married. Okay, so I'm not going to read anymore. And I hope that has whet your appetite for this book. If you would like me to do a chapter read or to continue to reading this story, then please leave me a comment in the comment section below. If this video gets to 20 likes, 30 likes, then I will do a chapter read for you. But this is where the story begins. And this is the journey. This beginning of this story is where Sherilyn will take her journey to find out who her father is. It's a beautiful story, and I would encourage you to really get the book. And if you want a good read over coming up for Christmas, this is a good read. Okay, so God bless, and I'll see you in my next video. God bless.